welcome to Shoreline Music Monthly. My name is Mark Koshwitz, and we're going to have a fine show for you tonight. I've got little details of a benefit charity coming up at Eastern Connecticut State University we'll talk about a little later. The Cabinet of Curiosities returns, featuring one of my favorite instruments in the whole world. But first and foremost, I'm very happy to have in the station tonight with me a good friend and wonderful songwriter, guitarist, singer. He does it all. Rodney Washburn.
Nearly everything.
Nearly everything. How are you, sir?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Glad to see you. Glad you could make it. It's the first day. It's been this beautiful and 60 degrees outside, and we're inside doing this. But
no,
it's for the art.
Where else would we be? We could have done it on the beach. We did talk about it briefly, but
that would have been nice.
The equipment wasn't going to go for it.
So I was chastised recently because this is a show that purports to be about songwriting, and I seem that I'm batting about 50-50 on whether I actually talk to the artists about how they approach songwriting. So I apologize to all those that I never delved in on, but how's it work for you?
I think it's changed, and it always changes. Probably in the beginning, it was with bands for years. It was always a guitar player in place that had a riff, and I have always been the lyric and the melody guy. So that probably since the mid-'80s was the way that I wrote. Always came up with the melody, always came up with the lyrics, kind of put pieces of the songs together, wrote some of the music, and that really taught me how to write the majority of my songs, always having a writing partner. It probably wasn't until...
Yeah, because you've got quite a long history. You've several bands.
Long history.
Long.
Yes, decades and decades.
Because when I first met you, it was, I think it was your first solo album that had been...
Songs for a Sunday Morning.
Yes, and so that's when I met you. It was, I guess, post big band days.
Yeah, that was the first record that I did right after a band called Johnny Law that was in from '99 till right around 2006. I wanted to write an entire record. We were a great live band and wrote a lot of great songs, but we never managed to put together a record. So it was time to make a record, and luckily I met Eric Lichter very quickly, and he helped me put that together. But for that album, I did write everything.
Very nice.
A lot of that time I kind of tried to play both parts. So a melody idea in my head always seems to come from a melody line where I'm just humming. And that humming over and over again, a word comes in, 2 words come in, 3 words come in. Pretty soon you've got a hook. And then I kind of go back with the guitar and figure out what I've already got in my head.
Nice.
That's most of the time, not all the time.
Now I see tonight. I see you. You brought a friend along.
Yeah, an old friend, Jack Adanti. Jack and I played together in Johnny Law for quite a few years, and he threatened to join that band for a long time. Before he actually did, we talked about playing like all musicians do. We get together in places and talk about the idea of playing, and when it finally happened, we enjoyed it. And recently, it was time to do something different, and I called Jack and asked if he would help me out, and he's definitely...
Yeah, because I see the two of you playing around quite a bit now.
Yep. I'm very, very happy to be playing with him again.
Looking forward to hearing some of that tonight.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Said that it had to be in a certain way. Never said you should think the same way that I do. Never claimed to be strong, 'cause I'm not that way at all. Never tried to imply that I wouldn't fall now. I'm feeling like everything's changed in me. need you. There were times when I thought to let go was a weakness. Maybe I wasn't wrong. You don't get hurt that way. So tell me if I am wrong, and not all should be spoken. Coming on way too strong. Do I ask to be broken? 'Cause I'd rather fall down than not stand up at all. So I stand here for the first time with nothing left to hide, saying just like the moon needs the sky, hold on to like sand needs a tide to wash it all away, and sun needs to shine. Remind me that life is worth living, and you do. Just like the moon needs the sky, but I need you like sand needs a tide. But I need you and the sun needs to shine. Remind me that life is worth living, and you do. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you.
Now, I want to, in the interest of full disclosure, I'd also like to, Mr. Washburn here was the how I actually got my first recording credit ever. So that was pretty cool. That was the album previous, or after the one we
Right,
were
Who
just
You Are,
discussing,
yep.
Who You Are.
Yep.
That was very cool. I had just met you. We chatted it up in within the span of a month. Or,
Yeah, would you
know.
come over? Can you come over and do this track? Yeah, it was. Well, Jack and I were just talking about that, how you and I knew each other, and I said it happened pretty quickly. I think you were at my house maybe for the total of an hour.
Yeah, that was pretty much
A few
about
minutes
it,
of
yeah.
conversation. You listened to the song a couple of times. Did it take? Made a couple adjustments. Did it take? And we had it.
Yeah, that was neat. I just want to thank you for that, because
Oh,
that
thank
was
you,
very
man.
cool.
It
That
ended
was
up being
very
a great
cool.
song.
Yeah.
Goodbye, river, here's a song. My days with you are all gone. As I say and think of you, oh, those memories still make me blue. I tried to cross you many times, but you were too strong for my kind. Here I sit upon the shore, too tired to cross you anymore. Goodbye, river, long and wide. Tears you have nearly dried. Tears the rain begins to pour. guess I'll cry just one more. The sun goes down and I recall wait to force the man to crawl. Searching for truth among the lies, daring to dream of clearer skies. Goodbye, river, dark and cold. Though I'm gone, you'll always know. I went so deep and nearly drowned, but I won't let you drag me down. Goodbye, river, roll on by. Wipe the last tear from my eyes. Now I ride to find a song. Goodbye, river, just roll on. Just roll on. Goodbye, river. Just roll on. Just roll on.
Hello, and welcome to Cabinet of Curiosities. This episode, we're going to be looking at my favorite member of the cabinet, the harmonica. There are many flavors of harmonica. For our purposes today, we're going to be focusing a little bit on the 10-hole diatonic. Diatonic means that it contains no sharps or flats other than what's in the key signature. So the harmonicas are actually in a key. Now, what is the harmonica? It's where did it come from? It is a member of the free reed family, which actually also includes the accordion and melodica, among others. If one were to draw the line back, I guess you could go as far as China, 3000 BC, to an instrument called the sheng. Used a gourd as an air chamber and tubes or pipes with bamboo reeds to produce tones, quite possibly the first free reed instrument. In more modern times, we can go back to Germany around 1820. A Christian bushman is credited often with inventing the harmonica, and supposedly was about 15 pitch pipes kind of assembled in a line that you would play one different tone on each. The only actual documentation of this is a book written by one of his descendants, so you know, it's unclear as to whether this is accurate. It's been kind of lost to the annals of time. I think more likely Around this time, it seems there were a lot of people working on this type of thing. There was Sir Charles Wheatstone in Britain, as well as a James Bazin, who was in the U.S., Massachusetts, actually, working on similar things. So the origin, I mean, it may have been a case of it actually being kind of invented in several places concurrently. It's really unclear. But what is known is that in 1825, Joseph Richter in Germany came up with the idea of adding a second reed plate for notes that would be sounded by drawing air back through the harmonica, doubling the amount of notes available. And if that wasn't enough, prior to this, the harmonicas had been solo tuned, where basically the notes were in order, they were diatonic, they were in a key. He came up with a different way of laying out the notes. It's still called Richter tuning to this day, where you have access to 3-note chords throughout the harmonica, which made playing fuller a lot easier. You could almost accompany yourself with chords, as opposed to just being able to play a melody line. Now, Richter's innovations led to a widespread popularity. Germany became a hotbed of harmonica manufacturing, with Messner opening in 1827, Seidel in 1847, still operational, oldest operating harmonica manufacturer in the world, Hohner in 1857. And what Matthias Hohner did was he modernized the manufacturing of the harmonicas. 1857, he produced about 600 harmonicas. By the mid-1870s, he was manufacturing over 50,000 a year, making it less expensive and easier to obtain. He also was the first to begin exporting the harmonicas to the United States. All right, well, why don't we take a look inside one of these fellas. I've got here a Hohner Special 20. I've already gone ahead and removed the bolts that hold the cover plates on, as well as the screws that hold the reed plates to the comb. So I'll remove the top cover plate here, which you'll then see this is the reed plate here that would produce the blow notes, the bottom cover plate, and then what we have are the comb with the 2 reed plates. This produces the blow notes here. You see the reeds mounted on the plate, and then this would be the draw one, and then the comb, where there's separate air chambers so that you're playing one set of reeds at a time, depending on whether you're blowing air or drawing through the harmonica. And that, for all intents and purposes, is what's inside. Now, harmonicas had mostly been played as melody instruments in folk songs up to through here. Something interesting happened in the U.S. in the 20s and into the 30s, and still going on now. But in the rural South, blues players started using harmonicas. And they realized that they could play in a different key than the band was playing in, to have access to different bluesier scales, and that by bending notes, they would have access to even more and be able to get a soulful, bluesy sound added to it. Gives access to different scales, and by bending, it really, really blueses up the sound. And just a moment on bending, because it's really a cool thing. What happens inside the harmonica, draw bends anyway. When you're drawing air across the reed, you're sounding the note. If you change the way the air is going across the reed, you can actually influence the lower tuned blow reed to begin vibrating. And what that does is it takes the pitch of the note that you're playing down. And that's where you get that Everybody knows that blues harmonica sound. See, none of that would be possible without the ability to bend notes. Now, a Wilhelm Thai in Vienna came up with the idea of making double rows of notes, and that opened up a lot of different possibilities. This is a Hohner Bravo. It's a tremolo harmonica, and what it is the two chambers, one is tuned just slightly off the other. So it gives it a tremolo, like you'll hear the beat. Gives it a fuller sound, like a little reverb. The same type of thing allows the Hohner Echo to be tuned in octaves. So each note is the same note, but they're an octave apart, which also gives it a fuller sound. Now the chromatic, invented by Hohner, is basically two sets of reed plates offset by a semitone. So basically a set of reed plates in C, in this case, and C sharp. So in the octave you have all 12 tones, but it gives you access to every note in the scale, which you just can change by moving the slide. And now this fella, it's a bass harmonica. In this case, actually, it's a contrabass, which is exactly what you'd think it is. And we cannot forget the quite possibly the coolest ever father of the groom present, the harmonica cufflinks. Congratulations, Mark and Tiffany, and thank you for the cufflinks. Well, that's it for another Cabinet of Curiosities. I hope you enjoyed learning a little about the harmonica. We barely scratched the surface. There's so many ways to play and amplify and enjoy this humble instrument. We'll see you next month. And remember, if you can coax a sound out of something, you can probably play it. All right, well, thank you once again for watching, and we'll get the gents back out here for another one. I just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about an event coming up at the Eastern Connecticut State University on April 12th. It's something called Beautiful Lengths, and if you've got hair 10 inches or so you want to get rid of, they'll be providing cutting there. They'll be making wigs for children, cancer patients. So I think that's a really cool thing. It's from 1 to 4, and more details will be on our Facebook page. So look us up. And we're going to go out on a song by Rodney and Jack, but credits will be rolling and you'll be moderately annoyed, but take solace that we will have that song credit-free on our YouTube channel, so look that up. And remember that you are the local in the local music scene. So get off the couch, go see a show. We'll see you next month.
things how I remembered it to be. It's not so long ago, phrases always seem to flow out of me like they ran through my veins. It wasn't that I said so much, or what I said, it meant a lot, the way it seemed to make me come alive. The time plays so hard, it always draws that winning card. I guess that's just the way it's got to be. It always takes me there, out on the road, running scared for something. I find myself alone again, walking backwards, 'cause I'm waiting for you. Don't dream in color, my head is full of blues, and my emotions always rise above it all. I still remember when, I still remember when I had it all. Silent words creep up on me and find me waking from a dream I've had so many times before. Caught inside a web of hope, wondering where can I go without the things I thought I'd always be. Caution thrown to the